It's time for my long-awaited and way long overdue review of Shrill Season 2. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another episode of A Fat Girl Reviews, where me, your resident fat girl, reviews things that has to do with being a fat girl. So this is something I've been doing on my channel that I do from time to time, especially when there's like movies or TV shows that are particularly geared toward or about plus size women. I say fat because I'm talking about myself. And that word doesn't bother me. I know that some people don't like it. I would never like refer to you if you're a plus size person as a fat person, because I know people feel a certain kind of way. But just for the purposes of this video, I'm gonna say fat because that's the word that I use. No meanness, nothing, no disrespect meant at all, because obviously your girl's fat, okay? But anyway, I want to review season 2 of Shrill, which is a show about a plus size millennial woman. I did review season 1 when it came out, so if you haven't seen that yet, I will link it above and below in the description. So please be sure to check that out if you wanna know what I thought about season 1. But in this video, I'm gonna talk about what I thought about season 2. So I know it came out a really long time ago, but I just hadn't had the chance to review it. I did watch it when it first came out, so I apologize for how long it has taken me to review it, but now here I am, and now you're going to get my thoughts. So when I reviewed last season, or the first season, I felt like something I really liked about season 1 of Shrill was that I felt like it was dealing with a lot of unique issues to plus size women that are often not portrayed in television or movies. And I really felt like I was seen, you know, I felt like I was being represented, and a lot of topics that are real for us in our everyday lives were just not being addressed. Unfortunately, in season 2, I felt like there was a lot less of that. There was definitely some references to her being plus size, but it definitely felt like it was an afterthought, and the season was focusing on other aspects, which I was a little disappointed in, because I really liked that it focused on her being a plus size woman and not focused on it in a sort of like gross exploitative way, but rather like a true sort of like representation, or like showing what it's like to be a plus size millennial woman, you know, dealing with people every day. And I really like that about season 1. And unfortunately, it definitely, I'm not trying to say it didn't have it at all, but I definitely just did not feel like it was a focus of season 2. So that was like a little disappointing. And the few times, or there were a few times where I felt like there were opportunities to kind of tie that in, and it was kind of ignored. I think I'll expand on that in a little bit, but yeah, I definitely thought there were some missed opportunities, basically is what I'll say. But one of the good things is it does still focus a lot on being a woman and a lot of issues that we face in the workforce, in the public eye, internal with our families, things like that. So I like that there was this focus on, like, you know, questioning aspects of feminism and female empowerment and worthiness and, you know, things like that. It just was really kind of missing the celebration, I felt, of being sort of a plus size woman, or, you know, coming to terms with that, or being okay with that. And then compared to the first season, I felt like season 1 kind of blurred between it was gonna be a drama, or maybe not even like a drama, but like a regular TV show or like a comedy. And I felt like this season definitely leaned into trying to be more of a comedy, which I didn't really love, because some of the comedy, though it was definitely funny, don't get me wrong, definitely laughed. I probably laughed every episode, but some of the jokes, not a huge fan, and I wish there would have been some more serious moments, and some of the serious moments were a little strange because of the awkward funniness and other aspects. It just kind of felt a little off, like being in the same space. So first I'll talk about what I did like about season 2, since that was kind of like a comparison between the two. So now I'll talk about what I did like before I get into some of the things that I didn't really like. So first, the good stuff. Like I said before, it's definitely funny. Some of the humor is dumb, and I didn't think it was funny, but I definitely laughed. And you know, she's funny. Aidy Bryant's funny. The writers are funny. A lot of the actors and actresses are hilarious. So definitely, you're gonna laugh if you watch it, whether you're a fat girl or not. So it's definitely a funny show, and I did appreciate that, and it was very entertaining. So, you know, like that. And the few times that they did bring up the plus size issues, I did like the ones that they did. I was just complaining there wasn't quite enough, but the ones that they did were good. So for example, she's not afraid to show fat women or plus size women being sexually active, which I feel like is really ignored a lot in film and TV, or if it is shown, it's kind of shown in almost like a farcical way or like the butt of a joke. And I mean, while some of these did kind of have jokes along with them, it still felt more like realistic. There's like a scene, like in fact, there's like two like sex scenes that are like public sex scenes, which I feel like you never see like plus size women being included in like a public sex scene. Like you always see like the skinny, sexy like woman slipping into the bathroom or whatever. You never see like a big old girl like me trying to get it on in a closet or something. It just doesn't really happen. So I really like that she sort of included us into that narrative and sort of showing plus size women as, you know, sexual beings, you know, because we are, you know. Although the few times that she did kind of address the being like fat and having sex in public, I feel like there probably may have been some peculiarities that would have gone along with being plus size and trying to have sex in public, because there are some unique aspects that come into sex when you're plus size, and I don't think that was addressed at all. So some of it seemed like, I don't know, like there probably would have been a little bit more issues with that for her size, but okay, we'll go with it, you know. So I thought that could have been a good opportunity to kind of like, I don't know, bring that up, but it wasn't. So I don't know, kind of a missed opportunity, but I still liked it. And something I actually really liked, and this is something I complained about first season that I didn't think was addressed enough, is how often plus size women will, how can I say this? Put themselves in relationships with partners, often if they're straight, with straight men that are terrible to them. Because the women think that because they're plus size, they have to be happy with whoever would be interested in them and be with them. And that's just really kind of sad and tragic. And I like that. I did feel like it was kind of leaning into that in the first season, but I like that she kind of looped back second season and was like, yo, just because I'm big doesn't mean I need to put up with this shit from you, you know? So I did really appreciate that. And I like that that was addressed, because I think all too often we don't think we're worthy of love like we're not worthy of having like sort of standards, right, of love. Like either you love me, like you love me and I'm going to accept that and not really hold ourselves to a higher standard of like what is appropriate or how to like treat us, basically is what I'm trying to say. So I do like that she addressed that, and how hard it is sometimes for us to think that we're worthy of better treatment from people, especially our partners. And then in my favorite episode, which I feel like was the best episode of this season, and probably like the main one that really kind of addressed any of these issues that I liked from the first season, which is sad because it's like the only real episode that did, is the Waham episode, where it's like she goes to like this women's empowerment expo or something, where it's like, you know, female entrepreneurs and sort of talking about self-care, and like there's like a it felt very like MLM and like motivational speaker type thing. And so a lot of stuff, so some of the stuff that she addressed in that episode about being plus size was like right on the money, and I really liked it. So she talked about chub rub, which I feel like nobody ever talks about chub rub, which is a real thing, you know? And if you don't know what chub rub is, lucky you, but it's when your thighs rub together. And so she talks about that, and it shows like other women who, you know, maybe aren't even as big as her, and how they also have that issue that it's not just big girls, like lots of people have chub rub, you know? We don't all have that gap between our legs. Most of us actually do not. She also talks about how hard it is to find good clothing or cute clothing for fat girls. This is something I have complained about a million times. We have so few choices with clothes as big girls. We basically have Lane Bryant or Torrid, and I like Torrid clothes a lot, but it kind of puts us into two sort of things where it's like you could dress like a old mom, you know, like a church lady old mom, or you could dress like a fangirl sort of gothy punk type, but like, I don't know, there's just not like cute, stylish, what's in vogue type styles. A lot of things for big girls are bedazzled, and just, you know, and they're also made out of like really cheap material. And yeah, so she does talk about that, which I thought was like yeah, that is definitely an issue, not being able to get good clothes for being a plus size girl. Something else she brings up is something I said in the beginning of the video, which is she uses the word fat. She's okay with it. It's just a descriptor. And I don't want to spoil anything, but there's like a moment where that kind of gets thrown back in her face later, and it's so funny. But I kind of like that it's just like, okay, like plus size, fluffy, whatever you want to call it, like whatever helps you sleep at night. I'm not trying to like tell people what words they can and can't use, but for me, it's just like, oh, yeah, I'm fat. Okay, it is what it is. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we're giving that word way more power than we need to. And that's not to dismiss like things like fat phobia or people trying to, some people are really triggered by that. I completely understand. But she does bring up that like some of us are just like, yo, we're just fat. It's just the word, you know? So I did like that she, you know, addresses that. And kind of along with that, with like the clothing, there is like an instance where she's at this event and they're giving out, you know, t-shirts for the event, and the largest size they have is an extra large, and she's like, yo, this is never gonna fit me. So she just has to kind of like hold it up against her because they want everyone to wear the shirts for like a picture or whatever. And that was just that was probably one of the most relatable moments of the entire season, because I have so been there. It's like we know that like so many women are plus size. Why don't more people take that into consideration when they're ordering sizes for a large group of people? When I was an undergrad, I worked at a Hollywood video, and the largest size my manager had was a 1X for women. And rather than reach out to the like higher up people to try to get a larger shirt for me, like he didn't even know if they ran larger sizes than that. He just said, you know what, just wear a white shirt to work, which no one else was actually wearing a white shirt. So the whole time that I worked there, I was wearing a different shirt than everybody else. So it was like totally noticeable. It was noticeable that it wasn't like a uniform, and I also stood out from everybody else. So it's like already as a plus size person, I'm already standing out all the time, and now you're making me wear a shirt that makes me stand out. Also, another time when I was in grad school, we did some community outreach, and we did a literacy camp thing with a local high school. And the woman that I organized this with, because I was the head of my GSA, I was the president, she did not tell me that she was gonna order shirts for us, which I wish she would have communicated with me so that we could have like got that. But she was kind of like, surprise, I ordered you guys shirts so you could wear them to commemorate this, and that way everyone knows that you're like the counselors or whatever. But then she didn't ask any sizes. So not only she got all like mediums and larges, so I had to squeeze my big fat sausage body into a large shirt. Good Lord. I mean, I was smaller back then, but it was still, oh, it was so tight. I'm glad I was even able to get into it, but I just remember being in that bathroom stall like, Lord, please just help me squeeze into this large shirt. And the whole day I was so uncomfortable because I just kept waiting for it to just sort of roll up over my face or something. But also my two best friends at the time are tiny little girls, and hello, the medium was like making them swim. It was just like, come on, we're all women here. Ask somebody their sizes, okay? Don't just assume. So that was just such a relatable moment where she was just like, what is this? Don't you have any bigger sizes? This is not gonna fit me. And she totally felt awkward and like out of place. So I really liked that, and I appreciated, like, that was the kind of moment that I wish there were more of in the season, because that was super, super relatable. And then this isn't really related to like the fat part, but I really did like the Waham episode where she's really talking about like how feminism is kind of being packaged as like a commodity, where we're kind of pushing an aspect of feminism of like female entrepreneurship, but it's like predicated around the idea that we need to change ourselves. Like all these like female products, which are all just saying that like our bodies as they are not good enough, and we need to do all these things to change them. So I really liked that critique that she was making. And that's why I'm saying that the show is so weird for me, because I feel like she's making some really deep like critiques and things, but then she has such like ridiculous other things in the season that I felt like take away from that. Like, I don't think it needs to be a serious show. I think you can have humor and talk about these heavy issues, but like I feel like the humor needs to be more clever, because it's not. And that kind of segues into the cons, and that was one of the big cons, is that some of that, the humor is not clever. It's really kind of immature. Just, I don't know, like drug humor. I just don't think it's that funny. She did it in the first season, and I complained about that in my first review, where there's like an episode where like her boyfriend gets high with the dog, and it's so weird and lame. It just does not feel like, it feels like it belonged in the movie Half Baked or something. Do you remember that movie? Anyway, it just did not feel like it should have been in Shrill. And then this season, there's like an episode where they go to her boss's like birthday party and they all like get high while they're roller skating. I don't know. It's not funny to me. Like, it's really lame. It's immature. I feel like the writers are better than that. And I just didn't, I don't know. I just didn't think it was funny. It was unbelievable. It was like farcical. Like, it was just over the top. I just didn't appreciate it at all. So that was kind of dumb. I didn't like those moments. The boyfriend is especially over the top. And I didn't really care for him like at all, even this season. Even though, side note, at the end, I still thought she was really rude to him, which I know like he's not great and like he wasn't great to her, but then it like, kind of made her into a mean girl, which I didn't like that either. Like, I don't know if that was like purposeful. Like she's trying to show that like sometimes when we're trying to like get into ourselves and like be okay with ourselves, that sometimes it can go the other direction, or maybe she didn't realize she was doing that. I don't know. But anyway, that was one of the big downsides. I just didn't really appreciate some of the humor that was in there. I thought the show could be better than that. I also hated the troll story again, which I hated in the first season. It's not believable. It's dangerous. It's silly. It's stupid. And it gets extended into season 2 far too long. I like the idea of standing up to your bullies, but the way it goes, and I don't even want to say how it goes if you haven't seen it, but the trajectory that it goes into season 2 is like, I don't know. I didn't care for it. If you watched it, what did you think of the troll story? Comment that down below, because it was farcical. It was not empowering. It went over the top silly. It made it silly. That's like the best word. It's like silly, and not even like in a good way. It was just like, I don't know. Did not care for it. It was just dumb, unrealistic. So really, another thing I didn't like, and I kind of said this in the beginning, is it feels like it moved away from being about a plus size woman and more about what it's like to be a millennial woman, which is fine. It's a little disappointing, but at the same time, I like that it addressed some of the like aspects of being a millennial, but then it also was really unrealistic with some of it. Like there's this whole part where she like quits her job, and which I thought was totally relatable, and like it doesn't go the way she thinks, and then she can't, like she doesn't work, doesn't have any money, and she's like freaking out. But then what she does, like she tries to like get back at her job and then like take her back. It was so unrealistic, and not all of us have that luxury to have like a big blow up with our boss and quit our jobs and then just have him take us back after he's like drugged out I don't know. It was so stupid, and I just felt like here was another great opportunity to show like the actual struggles of those of us who are millennials, who are trying to make it in a workforce that is incredibly difficult, how college doesn't always prepare us for the things that we want to do, and how hard it can be to like change careers or change jobs. And it was such a missed opportunity, and how she got back into it just felt pointless and stupid and made her seem really privileged and annoying, and I didn't like that at all. And it really just kind of, not only did I didn't like it, but it kind of plays into some of these ideas that people have that like millennials are entitled and don't understand hard work, don't want to pay their dues, which is exactly how she came off at her job. Like I mean, I understand her point of view. I think she did have good ideas and she wasn't being taken seriously, but at the same time, it's like, there's a way these things work. You have to put in the time, pay your dues. You don't get to just throw a fit, quit, and then beg to come back and get taken back. Like, I don't know. I just didn't like that whole storyline at all. It made the main character, Annie, come off very unlikable to me. Maybe that's just me. I'm curious what you think. Did that make her seem unlikable to you, or did you like that? Comment down below, because I just did not really care for that storyline at all. Like, I don't think women should be afraid to ask for what they want, but I also don't think they should throw little fits and like be ridiculous, and then also like, I don't know. I just felt weird about it. I felt weird about it. So I'd like to hear other opinions if people like don't have the same opinion as me, because maybe I'm reading the scenario wrong. I don't know. And yeah, like I said, and that whole scene at the skating rink was just stupid, and I did not like that episode at all. That was definitely the worst scene. So all in all, I still like the show. Like, it's funny, you know, it does represent us plus size girls. It does touch on like really important topics other than being plus size, like being a woman, being a millennial. I just wish it got rid of the like nonsensical, silly, over the top stuff. Stuck to the clever, funny humor, and kind of maybe try to incorporate more of the plus size aspects again. Just maybe being a little bit more realistic. It doesn't have to be a drama, it can still be a comedy, but just more realistic storylines, because there's so much more power in that when they're realistic. Because when you make them silly, and over the top, then it's like, then it makes none of the messages feel like they're applicable because this isn't a real scenario, if that makes sense. And really, I would just like it to get back to what I think the main appeal and potential of the show is, which is giving a unique look and voice to female aspects or women's, you know, issues that are rarely, if ever, seen on TV. So that's what I thought of Shrill 2 season 2. What did you guys think of it? Please be sure to comment down below. And if you like this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. And I'll be back on Thursday because I post videos now every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.